All right, so for 12.6, it says we will be able to divide a polynomial by a monomial or a binomial. So here we have 6x cubed plus 8x squared minus 4x divided by 2x. So here's our polynomial and here's our monomial. I'm going to rewrite this as a fraction. So I have 6x cubed plus 8x squared minus 4x divided by 2x. And I'm actually going to rewrite this again, so that way it's kind of broken up for me. So I have 6x cubed divided by 2x plus 8x squared divided by 2x minus 4x divided by 2x. So now I'm going to divide common factors out. So I have 6 divided by 2, that equals 3. X cubed divided by x, that leaves me with an x squared. 8 divided by 2 is 4. X squared divided by x is left me with 1x. And then 4 divided by 2 is 2. X divided by x is 1. So I'm going to rewrite my final answer. So I have 3x squared plus 4x minus 2 left. So now we're going to divide a polynomial by a binomial. Okay, so here we're going to think back to our last chapter with factoring. So I have x squared plus 4x minus 5 divided by x minus 1. So I'm actually going to factor our numerator. So I have x squared, so I know there will be an x and an x. My factors of 5 are 1 and 5. I know one of them is going to be positive and one of them is going to be negative because it's a negative 5. And I'm trying to get a positive 4x. So I'm going to choose 5 to be positive and my 1 to be negative. And if I want to check that, I'm left with 5x here and negative 1x. And that does in fact equal positive 4x. So that works. So I'm going to rewrite my numerator to be x plus 5 and x minus 1 divided by x minus 1. So now I know x minus 1 divided by x minus 1 is 1, so those cancel out. So I'm left with x plus 5 as my final answer. That's parentheses. Alright, so now over here I have 3x squared minus 10x minus 8 divided by 4 minus x. So I have a 3x squared, so I know my factors of 3 are 1 and 3, so I'm going to put my 3x here, my x over here, and I know my factors of 8 are 1 and 8 and 2 and 4. I want to start with my 2 and my 4, just because I think that might work out for us. And I know one of them has to be positive and one of them has to be negative. So I'm going to choose, I'm going to choose my 2, I think, to be positive. And I'm going to choose my 4 to be negative. So let's try that out. Positive 2 and a negative 4. So up here I'm left with 2x. And down here I'm left with negative 12x. So negative 12x plus 2x does in fact equal negative 10x. Okay? If you didn't get that the first time, try again until you get factor pairs that work. So I'm going to change my numerator now to 3x plus 2 and x minus 4 divided by 4 minus x on the bottom. So now I'm going to factor out a negative 1 from my denominator. So when I do that, this will actually become negative 1 out here, and then I would have a negative 4 plus x as my denominator, and I can rearrange that inside of the parenthesis. So I can have x minus 4. So now I know x minus 4 divided by x minus 4 is 1, so that cancels out, so I'm left with 3x plus 2 divided by negative 1. 3x divided by negative 1 is a negative 3x, and 2 divided by negative 1 is negative 2. So this is my final answer. Alright, so now we're going to think back to long division because it's probably been a while since you've done some long division. So I have 345 divided by 23. I know 23 goes into 34 one time. 23 times 1 is 23. We subtract that from our 34. 4 minus 3 is 1. 3 minus 2 is 1. And then we'll bring down our 5. 23 goes into 115 5 times. And 5 times 23 is 115. We subtract that and we get a remainder of 0. So 15 is our final answer. All right, so now we're going to use that knowledge of long division to divide some polynomials and binomials using long division. All right, so I don't know what's happening over here with this dot. Excuse me, go away. All right, well, I don't know what that is. But, so we're going to write this as x squared plus 2 plus 3x divided by x plus 2. And actually, as I'm looking at this, I notice that I have my 3x after my constant value of 2. So I'm going to rearrange this since addition is commutative. So I'm going to write this as x plus 2 plus 3x plus 2. Okay. So that way I have all of my order correct. So now I'm going to divide my binomial by the first couple terms in my polynomial here. So I know x goes into x squared, so x squared divided by x is x. Okay, so x times x is x plus 2, and 2 times x is 2x. So I'm left with that down here. I'll do my subtraction just like in long division. So 3x minus 2x is 1x. And x squared minus x squared is 0. So I can actually erase my plus sign. And then I'm going to bring down my plus 2. Well, x plus 2 divided by x plus 2 is 1. So positive 1. So 1 times x is x. 1 times 2 is 2. I'm going to subtract that. 2 minus 2 is 0. X minus x is 0. So I'm left with 0 as my remainder. So x plus 1 is my final answer for this problem. There we go. Alright, so now we're going to try it again. So I have 2x squared plus 3x minus 6 divided by x minus 2. So I'm going to first think of what 2x squared divided by x is, and I know that is going to be 2x. And I'm actually, since this is a binomial, I'm going to write it above my 3x here, since I have a binomial. So 2x times x is 2x squared, because I want to kind of think of what's going to get rid of that term on the left. And then I have 2x times negative 2 is negative 4x. So I'm going to do my subtraction. 3x minus a negative 4x is positive 7x. And 2x squared minus 2x squared is 0. Okay. So now I'm going to bring down my next term, which is negative 6. I know that 7x divided by x is positive 7. So 7 times x is 7x. 7 times a negative 2 is negative 14. Now I'm going to do my subtraction. So negative 6 minus a negative 14. So negative 6 plus 14 is 8. And 7x minus 7x is 0. So I'm left here with that positive 8 value. So that is our remainder. So we're going to write our remainder as a rational expression using our divisor as the denominator. So we are left with, for our remainder, as 8 divided by x minus 2. So that means our final answer altogether is 2x plus 7 plus 8 divided by x minus 2. And that is our final answer.